What is up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of 100 Yards of Football Sports Talk Radio. I'm your host and producer, Logan Landers, and join me here today to talk about the impact that Earl Campbell had on the Red River Rivalry, Red River Shootout, whatever you want to call it. It's got a bunch of different names. It's been around for over 100 years. So, talking about the man, the running back legend out of Texas, Earl Campbell, helping me talk about the impact he had on this historic rivalry is a UT fan, someone who is a big fan of Earl Campbell, and that is, of course, Jay McLovin from the Elite Sports and Entertainment Network. Jay, what's going on, my friend? Let's talk about Earl Campbell. Love talking about this guy. What do you got to say about him and the impact he had on the Red River Shootout?
Yeah, as a guy who loves the University of Texas, as a guy who part of his family graduated from University of Texas. Hell, when my cousin got married, her and her husband both went to University of Texas, and his damn groomsman cake was a round cake that had the University of Texas seal, and their dance was the fight song of UT.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking some heavily entrenched people at the University of Texas, and you cannot ever mention the University of Texas without talking about the Tyler Rose. You say, well, Jay, why is Earl Campbell called the Tyler Rose? Well, the man is from Tyler, Texas, and the Yellow Rose of Texas is the Yellow Rose, and that's how the man became the Tyler Rose, because he is the biggest symbol that we have. Now, unlike that traitor, Billy Sims, that went off to Oklahoma, Earl Campbell decided to keep the roots here in Texas and go on ahead and play. Now, I understand that, Billy Sims got the Heisman in 78, but Earl got it in 77, baby.
That's true.
Don't ever let that forget that. Like you said a second ago, it's a big rivalry, the Red River Shootout. A lot of people had a big impact. Royal had an impact. Sims did have an impact. Earl Campbell had an impact, along with, many others down the road. Matt Brown, I'm sure, had it. You could probably put him in there as well as having an impact on the Red River Shootout. It's been around, like you said. The first game was in 1900. The Red River Shootout became effective or fully established in 1929. And Logan, we've had 119 games leading up to this one, which is the 120th game of this Red River. I call it shootout, sir, because it's called the Red River Shootout because the Red River flows in between Texas and Oklahoma. That is our border, and that's how it got its name, for those who don't know. But to go a little bit more into it, let's talk about the Tyler Rose, shall we? Again, he's from Tyler, Texas. In high school, he actually moved from linebacker, which is where he started out as, to running back. So he initially started out his high school career as a linebacker, ultimately to transfer over to being a running back. And he rushed for over 2,000 yards in Texas in high school. Texas and OU are both recruiting him back in the day. He committed verbally with Texas, then went to a school visit Oklahoma, ultimately on signing day to come back to Texas and sign on with us. So, him and what he's done is incredible. Campbell scored a 12-yard run back in 74 when they were playing the Sooners. And I think at that time, Texas was a 21-point favorite to beat the Sooners. And he put Texas up 10-7 on that 12-yard run. It's amazing, when you think about all that Earl Campbell has done. Like I said, in 77, he got the Heisman Trophy. He was the first ever Red River Shootout. He was a Heisman campaign. 1977 was a Heisman campaign. And he won his first ever Red River Shootout. I'm sorry, I got that backwards. He himself had won his first Red River Shootout in 77. He went 23 carries for 124 yards and a touchdown. Earl Campbell really did dominate the 70s when you look at the guy. I know Billy Sims put up some really good numbers towards the end of it, obviously, right? Those last 2 years specifically for Billy. But when you look at Earl Campbell, though, and there's a lot of people, right, that had a big impact on Texas. Like I said, Matt Brown was one of them. Ricky Williams was another big time running back to come out of Texas. And, they actually called Ricky Williams Little Earl. He had a nickname of Little Earl on the team. That just shows you, when people ask you, what impact did you have on a team? When you got one of the better running backs to ever hit the field, and Ricky Williams telling you that his nickname was Little Earl, that tells you everything you need to know about Earl Campbell. Just, just even that alone, we could end the show right now.
Right, we can be good.
Ricky Williams was called Little Earl in Texas. That just tells you everything you need to know about the guy. In 1975, he had 66 yards in the first half on 100-degree heat, Logan, and they had to sit him out in the second half. So he was coming in and out of the lineup in the second half due to basically dehydration and heat exhaustion. But he didn't quit, Logan. He finished the game and whatnot. So it just kind of gives you a little insight on how tough Earl Campbell was. I mean, the guy had thighs as big as my waist, Logan. I mean, his thighs were, just massive, And he is said to have broken, he said to have broken a lot of records at Texas. I think later Mac Brown, he came out and said recently, not too long ago, but Earl Campbell came out and said that Mac Brown is too old to coach. Man, hey, Earl is still, even though he's in the kind of wheelchair now, he still has no problem letting you know how he feels. And by the way, if you guys ever get some of Earl Campbell's barbecue sauce, it's freaking amazing. But yeah, going back to 1976, obviously that was the 6-6 tie. No one for Texas with quarterback experience. That's one thing I wanted to point out about that game was in 76. They really didn't have a true quarterback. They had a couple of guys coming in and filling the spot. But ultimately, in 76, it was up to Earl Campbell to carry that team. And ultimately, like I said, it was a 6-6 tie. And if you know anything about Darrell Royal, he did not like 6-6 ties. And again, so he was battling through a lot of hamstring issues during that game, that with the 100-degree heat. But, again, Logan, I don't know if today's players could actually go through what Earl went through back in those days. I think a lot of these players nowadays would just go to the locker room and say, take me out, coach, But that was just not the way Earl did it. When you look at Texas and Earl Campbell's career there from 74 to 77, because in 78 is when he went pro. 1974, he had 162 carries for 928 yards and 6 touchdowns. In 75, he had 1,118 yards and 13 touchdowns. In 76 is when he had the leg injury, and he missed 4 games due to that hamstring issue. But he still put up 653 yards and 3 touchdowns. And in 77, which was his Heisman year, he put up 1,344 and 19 touchdowns. And basically, he did in 4 years 4,443 yards and 40 touchdowns. And let me say this only because I'm a UT guy, and I don't want to give Billy Sims too much damn credit. Billy Sims in 5 years put up 3,000 and some change. Didn't even hit 3,100 yards. It was just 3,000 and some change. But when you look at what Earl Campbell did in 4 years, one less year than what Billy did, he still put up 1,400 yards more than Billy. I just want to let people out there. If anybody thinks that Billy Sims is the best, hell no. Matter of respect always goes back to Tyler Rose, baby. Having said that, the Red River Shootout, he went 15. In 1974, during the Red River Shootout, he went 15 out of 20 carries. He went 15 carries, and he put up a touchdown. In 1975, he went 23 carries for 95. I'm sorry, my numbers are stupid. 15 for 70 yards in 74, 23 for 95 in 75. And then in 1976 is when they had the 6-6 tie. Earl Campbell went 27 for 91. And he actually had 5 penalties during that game. So that was a thing. They had a lot of penalties. I think illegal procedure was one of the biggest things that was called against Texas during that game. But either way, he still had 27 rushes or 27 carries for 91 yards. And I think that's what Billy Royal was pissed off about, Logan. Why this tie irked him so much is because Texas committed 5 penalties. for illegal procedure, which ultimately Daryl Royal would come out and say, if we hadn't committed all those penalties, we probably could have won the game. So that was the big thing to note about 76 was, number one, the tie, number two, the penalties and stuff of that nature. And lastly, in 77 is when he put up 23 for 174 and a touchdown. So Earl did have quite a bit of significance in the Red River shootout. But I think if he has Daryl Royal, he wished he could have had some of those penalties back. Go Longhorns.
Yeah, I mean, with Earl Campbell, I mean, we've said on the show, we've given him his flowers in a just kind of a career retrospect, right? In terms of his college days and in the NFL, right? With how well he did there in both regards, being of course a number one overall pick in 78, and then playing from 78 to 85 with both Houston and New Orleans. But it was in Texas where the Tyler Rose really became a man amongst boys, as you can say. Like you said, the 2 years he had of two really good years, and also the 74 was a really solid year also, but the two dominant years of 75 where he had 13 touchdowns and, of course, capped it off with his final senior year, just 267, 1744, 18 touchdowns. I mean, there's reasons why he's got accolades, why he's got his numbers retired. That's why he's in Hall of Fames. And, that's why he was ultimately successful in the NFL as well, even though his career wasn't maybe as long as some people might have thought. But Earl was, I'll always, if I'm ever flipping channels or something, Jay, if I ever see highlight packages of Earl Campbell, best believe I'm getting comfortable in my chair and I'm watching it because it's so fun to watch him run. And like you said, you see it on the screen there if you're watching Facebook and YouTube. He's got just thighs that are larger than trees outside. If you look outside your window right now, just the power that he can generate. And like you said, he ran with a purpose.
Oh yeah,
he ran with a mean streak, man. And that's why, throughout his time at UT, where he was at from 74 to 77, where he really worked, and he let's not forget, he got there at a time where Oklahoma had the upper hand, right? Throughout Oklahoma, man, let's not forget, both these teams, for the most part, they're usually pretty highly ranked when they play each other. So this isn't just a rivalry game where it's just, these guys are in-state rivals or something like that. No, these teams, for the most part, are very highly ranked, especially back in, the 70s and 80s. I mean, these were consistently teams in the top 25, top 15, top 5 for many of these years. And he made his impact, like you said. Oklahoma had the upper hand on Texas for a couple of years. And like I said, of course, that tie in 76, which Daryl Royal is still just turning over right now, just thinking about it. But like you said, they got it in 77. Close one, that one, 13-6 final score. Number 5, Texas beat number 2, Oklahoma. But Earl Campbell, like you said, he was playing in just god-awful conditions. So it was 100 degrees in October.
Yeah. That's just stupid weather, especially
think about it.
Yeah. You know what's interested to me the most, Logan? And
what was that?
When we talked about Billy Sims, he had the kung fu kick, right?
Yes.
He would kick a player. Earl wouldn't kick you.
No.
He didn't have time for that. I don't even think Earl's thighs could get up that high.
I don't think he could.
Earl would do, and I have seen it. As a matter of fact, you can go on YouTube right now and go look at the Houston Oilers days, and there are 3 specific players that Earl literally put his foot on their chest.
Yeah.
You can literally see the foot on the chest. It was so bad. And Earl would always feel so bad for putting his foot on their chest that he would apologize to the player. I'm sorry, I ran on top of you. I apologize. And the player would just be like shaking their heads. But the dude would run over you. He said, kick you. I'm not going to kick you. I'm just going to flat out put my foot on your chest.
Yeah, he's not gonna jump over you, Jay. He's gonna run through you. And that is that's Earl Campbell, man, to a T. And yeah, he meant a lot to this Red River shootout. No doubt about that, man. Well, Jay, I appreciate you, man, coming on the show Of course, Jay McLovin from the Elite Sports Entertainment Network. Much love to all the work that me and him do over there. A lot of great sports talk, a lot of great stuff about entertainment as well. Jay, it's a horror movie season. I'm sure we got to link up and do something with that. So go check us out over there. LinkTree's in the description. And also be sure to follow us here on 100 Yards Football, Facebook, and YouTube. We had some great interviews yesterday, so go check those out with Chris Goforth, who did a tremendous job. We had an hour-long conversation about everything Tennessee, everything broadcasting. So go and check out that great interview we had yesterday on the channel. Once again, for Jay McLovin, I've been your host and producer, Logan Landers. Guys, we'll talk to you again on another live episode. We'll see you later.